Plus, if you're not getting the low Toys R Us price of $29.99 for the little smart alphabet desk, oh, well, then you're a yo-yo, 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 yo. Lower prices, bigger selection.
Guaranteed.
What caused Michael Jackson to collapse at the Beacon Theater? Details at 11.
December 6th, 1995.
He was young, strong, an Olympic champion struck down in the prime of his life. Were there any signs Sergei Grinkov was about to have a heart attack?
He never had chest pain. He never had shortness of breath. He was sort of a Superman.
Tonight, new information, exclusive interviews with the doctor who treated him, and the star athletes who shared the last moments of his life.
I mean, we were skating with him just hours before.
Even if you're very young, it could happen to you. Tonight, a heart attack survival guide, new tests, surprise symptoms, and why every second counts.
Hidden behind the charm of small-town America is a ticking time bomb.
What this is about hatred. These men are haters.
They have their own courts, their own justice system, and they outgun local authorities. Tonight, Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace confronts the American outlaws.
I'm Chris Wallace from ABC News.
Here I am. Randy, you'll be arrested.
When tragedy struck, this woman turned it into a crusade.
When things are preventable, we are responsible as parents to let the industry know, to let government know.
She made a difference, and it's there at the park, in the schoolyard, even in a department store. Tonight, you'll learn what she did about the hidden dangers in children's clothing. A story every parent should see.
They confronted racists on Jerry Springer, talked about sex on Sally Jesse Raphael, and had a suicide pact on Rolanda. Are they really the couple of the 90s? They're what people are talking about.
From ABC News, with anchors Diane Sawyer in New York, Sam Donaldson in Washington, Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace, Judd Rose, Sylvia Chase, John Quinones, and Renee Poussaint. Primetime will continue after this brief message.
My father always said, remember, son, to make it to the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, you need determination, perseverance, and an iron will. Then he forgets the one bloomin' thing you really need.
Ah! You forgot your Visa card!
Visa. The only card accepted at the Olympic Games.
That was my dad, wasn't it?
It's everywhere you want to be.
This Saturday, from director Steven Spielberg.
Daddy!
Robin Williams.
Are you related to Mighty Mouse?
Julia Roberts and Dustin Hoffman as Hook. Saturday at 8, 7 Central on ABC.
Sunday, imagine a world where anything goes.
This isn't really happening, is it?
Lois and Clark get trapped in virtual reality, leaving Superman virtually powerless.
Kill him.
Now, a computer madman wants Lois, and he'll kill to get her.
You're going to die.
An all-new Lois and Clark, Sunday.
Primetime from TV1 in New York, Diane Sawyer.
Hello and good evening. We probably all had the same thought 2 weeks ago when we heard about the death of the young Olympic skater Sergei Grinkov. How could it happen? Wasn't he too young? We know that heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women, but doesn't it strike in later years? Well, the fact is close to 75,000 heart attacks occur in people under the age of 40 every year. And what you know about it can make a big difference. Correspondent Renee Poussaint is going to tell you what is known and what is new, beginning with what really happened the day Sergei Grinkov died, as told by the skaters and the doctors who were there. Last weekend, Lake Placid said goodbye to Sergei Grinkov. Skating fans were asked to close their eyes and envision the grace of a team that could never skate again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ekaterina Gordieva and Mr. Sergei Grinkov.
They were the reigning Olympic gold medalists in pairs figure skating. Two Russians brought together as teenagers and destined to redefine their sport. Along the way, they fell in love
married, and had a child. Sergei Grinkov's sudden death at age 28 has left his friends and fans wondering how someone so young and strong could suddenly be stricken with a heart attack.
He was probably the strongest male skater we had ever seen.
Gold medalist Christy Yamaguchi remembers,
we were skating with him just hours before, and everything was normal, everything was fine.
Sergei, just 2 days before he died, was in the gym lifting and riding the bike, doing cardiovascular work.
American silver medalist Paul Wiley was there too.
We were running through the opening number, and then they went over to the other rink and started to run through their program.
And that's when it happened 2 weeks ago. During a lift like this one, a move he had performed thousands of times before. But this time, he slumped and slowly lowered himself to the ice.
All of a sudden, I heard Marina run in and ask for someone to call 911.
There was this huddle of people around him laying on the ice, and they were administering CPR, and they had an inhaler, and he was blue already.
We looked down and saw a healthy young man, and we said, hey, this isn't good, but we can make a difference.
Emergency medical technician Corky Risley transported Grinkov to nearby Adirondack Medical Center, continuing CPR along the way.
My first reaction was, this is a tourist or a local skater who has collapsed.
Dr. Josh Schwartzberg joined the rescue effort at the hospital emergency room.
And I was immediately told that this was Sergei Grinkov, a gold medal Russian pairs skater. And I was just shocked. My immediate reaction was, this doesn't make sense.
For over an hour, the medical team worked to revive Grinkov, while his wife and skating partner Katya Gordieva waited in the next room.
It just got to be more and more frustrating, and finally the agonizing decision had to be made that this is futile, and to go on is of no avail.
The mystery began to unfold the next morning.
In Sergei Grinkov's case, the main artery that was occluded was virtually completely occluded. I have no idea.
In reporting the results of his autopsy, County Coroner C. Francis Varga found that Grinkov's main artery was severely blocked.
So the entire front half of his heart muscle and a part of the left side of his heart muscle were deprived of oxygen, and that's why he died.
The coroner also found a bruise on Grinkov's heart, indicating that he had suffered a previous heart attack within 24 hours of his death. But his wife told doctors Grinkov may not have actually known he had the attack because he showed no signs of pain or discomfort.
If he had had symptoms, then we could say he should not have ignored his symptoms. But the irony here is that he had no symptoms. He virtually had no symptoms. He never had chest pain. He never had shortness of breath.
The coroner also said, and it was widely reported, that Grinkov may have had high blood pressure, a risk factor for heart disease. But when we talked to Dr. Jeffrey Abrams, the orthopedic surgeon who treated him for shoulder and back problems, he said there were no signs of it.
There's at least 3 occasions by 3 different individuals that took his blood pressure over the last 3 years and did not illustrate any elevated blood pressure at those times.
But Grinkov did have one undisputed risk factor in his medical history. His father died of heart disease in his early 50s. The question is there any way Grinkov's death could have been prevented? Most doctors say yes, with early diagnosis and treatment. But some doctors say the commonly used tests for early diagnosis can be misleading in patients as young as Grinkov. This test, a stress test, might have picked up a problem, but some doctors say it is most accurate when patients already have outward symptoms of heart disease. There is a new but still experimental test that can be effective for people with risk factors but no symptoms. It's called an ultra-fast CT scanner. The scanner takes X-rays of the heart and can reveal calcium in heart arteries.
The calcium deposits are important because
They are closely related to the amount of underlying obstruction in the arteries.
Dr. Alan Gersey is an expert in this new technology, which, for older patients, he says, can be very accurate. But for younger patients like Grinkoff, there's a 20 to 25% error rate. The odds are, he says, that no doctor would have recommended this test or any other heart test for a world-class athlete like Sergei Grinkoff in apparent good health.
Now, Renee mentioned some of the risks: family history, smoking, lack of exercise, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. But she says that sometimes your body is trying to send you an early warning signal that a lot of us simply fail to hear.
If you knew that a dangerous killer was stalking you or someone you love, wouldn't you want a plan in case of attack?
I think my husband had a heart attack. All right, we'll have some help there for you very shortly.
Heart attack, the biggest killer in America, kills someone every minute. But it strikes someone every 20 seconds. Obviously, some survive. Would you? Would you know what to do? Suzanne Pluchot knows at this very moment, Suzanne, a 52-year-old fitness enthusiast, is having a heart attack.
I have to live. I want to live. I love my family. Life is too beautiful.
These doctors at New York Hospital are about to stop Suzanne's heart attack in its tracks. This is their X-ray view of her heart. They carefully guide a flexible balloon-tipped wire like this up through her arteries to the narrow spot just here where a blocked artery, doctors call it the widowmaker artery, has almost completely closed off all blood flow feeding the front of her heart. That, in fact, is what a heart attack is. Blood flow to a portion of the heart muscle itself is cut off, and that part of the heart begins to die. To interrupt that deadly process, it is crucial to reopen the blocked artery. Dr. Tim Sanborn uses a technique called direct angioplasty.
Inside the body, this balloon will stretch open the artery to allow more blood to flow to the heart muscle.
Doctors are now using angioplasty while a heart attack is actually occurring, a procedure that is revolutionizing the treatment of heart attacks. In Suzanne's case, they'll then insert and leave behind a steel mesh stent, just like this one, to prop open the artery walls. There are also new drugs which actually dissolve the blockage in the artery, which, along with the angioplasty being performed here, give dramatic results.
The artery is wide open and the blood is flowing to the heart muscle.
Suzanne's heart attack has been stopped.
And if you look at her today, 30 hours now, from when she came into the hospital, the turnaround is a difference between day and night in just a short period of time.
5 days later, Suzanne and her husband Richard talked with her doctor, Charles Smithen.
The faster you intervene, the more muscle you save, and time is muscle.
Doctors say the first hour after the beginning of a heart attack is precious time because it's before the heart muscle is irreversibly damaged and new treatments have the best chance of working effectively. But most people wait an average of 4 times that long before seeking help. And with every hour that passes, the chance of saving heart muscle fades.
People do tend to minimize the symptoms, and they tend to deny that anything wrong is happening.
Dr. Judith Hochman of St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital is a leading cardiac researcher and one of more than a score of experts who advised us on this story.
And the first thought that may enter their mind that they're having a heart attack is immediately dismissed, and they'll turn to antacids.
The problem is, how do you know what the symptoms are? Most people think it's always a sharp pain in the chest, but they're wrong. And symptoms sometimes hit you hours, days, even weeks before the actual heart attack. Suzanne didn't recognize her early warning signs. Would you?
At first I thought it was muscle pull from exercising too vigorously in the gym with the weights.
There is a misconception about what a heart attack feels like. And in fact, when people have talked to me about their heart attack experience, they'll say, I was surprised because I didn't feel pain. It's a heaviness, a tightness, squeezing sensation.
Often it's in the chest, but it can also be in one or both arms, even in your back.
You can feel discomfort in the back, in between both shoulder blades. It's also not uncommon to feel it in the neck, in the jaw, in the gums. Sometimes people go to their dentist because they have pain in their gums.
Are there differences in the symptoms that a man and a woman might have?
Yes, in fact, there are. Women may experience less chest discomfort and more upper belly discomfort or more jaw discomfort. And they also tend to have more symptoms of nausea, vomiting, and even diarrhea.
Everyone can also find themselves facing shortness of breath and sweating. No matter what the symptoms, when that heart attack comes, time is critical. Do you know what to do? Call 911? Yes, says Dr. Hochman, but not for every symptom, every time.
If the discomfort is very fleeting, then it's not a heart attack. So we're talking usually at least 30 minutes of continued discomfort.
There's another survival tip that may surprise you when you feel a possible heart attack coming on.
Chew half of an aspirin, because it's been shown that aspirin is very effective at reducing your risk of dying with a heart attack.
One more point.
Okay, everybody clear?
Many of us have seen scenes like this, where electronic defibrillators are used to shock and revive a patient's heart. This is cardiac arrest, when the heart shuts down and stops pumping. It's different than a heart attack, although it can be triggered by one. Now, seconds count because no blood is getting to the brain. For each minute that goes by without any resuscitation, 10% of the brain dies. In 10 minutes, you are virtually brain dead. Yet in a city like New York, getting through traffic and up elevators, the paramedics call it horizontal and vertical response time, takes an average of 11 minutes. Dr. Myron Weisfeld of Columbia Presbyterian Hospital says new smart versions of the machines which can revive your heart need to be more widely distributed.
In large public buildings in a city like New York, there ought to be at a uniform place a defibrillator available for anybody to use who knows what to do with the device. We could save more lives.
We have very, very effective treatments once a heart attack has started. So it's critical to not deny, to seek medical care and get treatment, because you can live a long, very full and happy life having survived a heart attack.
Hi, hon. Welcome out.
By the way, all the experts we talked to said that if you feel symptoms of a heart attack, one of the worst things you can do is lie down away from everyone else or go into the bathroom alone. Stay with people who can help you. Both can be potentially deadly mistakes if you make them. And a program note, ABC Sports will have a special on skater Sergei Grinkov on Saturday afternoon, December 16th.
This Michigan mom found triumph in a profound loss.
This was my little girl. This was the last thing I can do for her.
In a moment, her inspiring story. But first, Chris Wallace on a battle for law and order. The showdown in Montana.
I stepped through the door with a shotgun like this, pointed my shotgun at him.
When Primetime continues.
I'll tell them it's over after dessert.
This must have taken forever.
Oh, no, actually.
So the time you spent on this symbolizes the time you want to spend with me.
Exactly.
Jell-O no-bake cherry cheesecake. No-bake one tonight.
Why would you want to live in this dark world? Step into the light with Silk and Mist pantyhose from Legs. Irresistibly sheer, irresistibly you. Silk and Mist. Nothing beats a great pair of legs.
We wanted the LHS to be the kind of car that, even when you're not driving it, you're thinking about driving it. It really was designed to spoil you in every way. An aggressive 214 horsepower engine in front of you, luxury amenities all around. Once you drive an LHS, it's not something you'll soon forget.
Moron!
They're still yellow, still fighting. Holy moly. Still ready for a little love.
I'd rather kiss a dead moose's butt.
Jack Lemmon,
What? Walter Matthau. So I'll call you Anne Margaret. Sophia Loren, grumpier old men. Back with more than they deserve.
It ain't the size that matters.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 22nd at theaters everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, if someone could please tell me how this stuff moisturizes so well, I would love to know. It felt nourishing, like it was still penetrating my skin. Even when I went to bed, I could still feel it working. I even went out and bought a pair of silk pajamas. Maybe it was because my skin felt so soft.
Dove Moisturizing Body Wash contains a unique 8-hour moisturizing formula that keeps your skin soft all day.
It just sort of clings on and it just lasts all day. This is the closest thing to pampering I get to do for myself.
Dove Moisturizing Body Wash for soft skin all day long.
Thursday, the commish tracks a serial killer who's a mistress of disguise. Let's find this woman. Can Tony stop this masked murderer? An all-new commish, then. Spencer and Hawk are back, up against a small town hiding a dirty secret.
I hear there's a lot of drugs in town. Cocaine.
Spencer, Pale Kings and Princes, after the commish, Thursday on ABC.
Friday, she was this superstar's ultimate fan, adoring, respectful, obsessed. Then a jury said she murdered her in cold blood. Was it a case of a fan gone too far?
I did not kill Selena. It was an accident, and my conscience is clear.
Her first interview from behind bars, 2020, Friday.
From Washington, Sam Donaldson.
We live in a country founded on the idea that free men and women have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But in Montana, there is a group of people, they call themselves the Free Men, whose idea of freedom includes intimidation, threats, and armed confrontation, not against some foreign enemy, but against the people who enforce the laws the rest of us live by. Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace went to investigate what the Free Men claim is their own private nation, but what others might call the Republic of Hate.
The men who live in this Montana cabin say their 20-acre ranch is no longer part of the United States. These two, and dozens of others, call themselves Freemen, a well-armed gang of anti-government outlaws who have declared war against public officials. Local authorities across Montana openly admit they've been intimidated by the Freemen. Judge Martha Bethel shut down her courthouse for 2.5 months this summer after receiving death threats.
I carry mace, I carry a gun. It's an awful way to have to live.
Prosecutor Vicki Knudsen decided not to seek re-election after her family started fearing for her safety.
We're headed to the point where people are not willing to hold public positions because it's not worth dealing with them.
In another county, the Freemen put $1 million bounty on prosecutor Nick Murney.
You're dealing with terrorism to begin with, and terrorism does impact one's peace of mind and one's sense of well-being.
Terrorism in small-town Montana?
That's what I call it, and that's the way I've treated it.
The Freemen, so feared by local officials, come from the ranches and farms of rural Montana. Anti-government feeling is common here, but for some it is festered into a separatist, white supremacist ideology, spread by Freemen like Rodney Skirdall.
Our liberties come from God, does not come from our public servants nor from any of our public officers.
The gospel, according to Skirdall, a 43-year-old ex-Marine, is that they are following God's law, not the government. The Freemen have created their own Supreme Court, appointing themselves as judges. And they've posted signs threatening to kill any public official who comes on their land.
They believe that the government is absolutely illegitimate and has no authority over them.
Ken Toole, director of the Montana Human Rights Network, says there are about 150 Freemen across the state, such as Al Hamilton, who's been in jail for allegedly threatening a police officer over a traffic violation. Now he challenges the court's authority over him.
You're blatantly and knowingly and willingly and wantingly going against the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Montana right here in front of all these people. And it's your job to arrest this man for treason.
Do you regard them as kooks, as extremists, as revolutionaries, as terrorists? What?
Yes, yes to all. They advocate armed confrontation with the government as a legitimate political tool to bring about change. So we see them as a very dangerous phenomenon.
Roundup, Montana, population 1,800, was a center for big sheep and cattle ranches in the last century. And these days, it seems as if this part of the Wild West is still wild. For 3 years, this cabin outside Roundup has been a headquarters for the Freeman. It's the home of Rodney Skirdall, whose anti-government crusade includes refusal to pay $29,000 in income tax. So the IRS seized title to his land. But Skirdall turned his 20 acres into an armed camp. From here, the Freemen have issued documents outlining their beliefs. That Jews are descended from Satan, that women have no right to vote, that the Constitution applies only to whites.
We, the people of the posterity, are exercising our exclusive rights to govern ourselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state in law.
Among those holed up in Skirdall's cabin, Leroy Schweitzer,
This free man character would have
a
necessitated
57-year-old crop duster whose business was also seized by the IRS. Schweitzer, like Skirdall, is now wanted on felony charges ranging from bank fraud to threatening public officials.
What this is about hatred. These men are haters.
434-237.
Deputy Sheriff Buzz Jones is one of just 5 law enforcement officers who patrol the area near Roundup. Outnumbered and outgunned by the Freemen, he said he steers clear of Skirdall's cabin.
They're wanted on a series of charges. Federal charges, state charges, felony warrants of all kinds.
Deputy, why don't you go up and arrest him?
We don't have the training in a little department, or the manpower, or the weaponry, or the expertise to do it. So if we go up there and try to do it on our own, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get killed.
What's more, with all the furor over the shootout with Randy Weaver at Ruby Ridge, officials say that local, state, and federal authorities are now unwilling to risk another bloody confrontation.
We can't afford what happened at Ruby Ridge, okay, with Randy Weaver. We can't afford something like that.
These people basically are in open revolt.
Prosecutor Nick Murnian saw that revolt firsthand last year, when more than 24 Freemen took over the county courthouse in Jordan, 130 miles from Roundup. They held their own court session, with self-appointed Judge Rodney Skirdall presiding.
I hereby grant permission to use my RCO from Muscle County until you acquire your own law.
The Freemen later issued a $1 million bounty for Murnian's arrest and conviction. And one of the Freemen made this chilling threat.
You'll be found guilty and you'll be hung.
Murnian prosecuted that Freeman on a state terrorism charge and sent him to prison for 10 years. Murnian says it was a tense day in the courtroom.
It's the first time that I ever had my own personal officer that told me which way to go if the bullets started flying, you know.
Literally?
Yeah.
For all the Freemen's rhetoric against public officials, there was no serious indication they were actually going to follow through on any of their threats until a few months ago. That is when the FBI called local officials here in Roundup with a tip they'd received.
The Freemen were going to attempt to kidnap a judge, have a trial with that against the judge, hang him, and videotape the whole thing.
Just days after receiving the tip, County Attorney John Bowman was threatened when he turned down a Freeman who came to the courthouse to file a document from the self-proclaimed Freeman Court.
He said, yes, this is a legal document. You're showing your true colors. You will be dealt with.
Deputy Sheriff Jones was called and arrested 2 men in a pickup, loaded with this arsenal of assault rifles, handguns, and thousands of rounds of ammunition, as well as other items that seemed to support the FBI kidnapping tip.
We had the restraints, the plastic restraints that can be used as handcuffs. We had duct tape, and even we had a video camera.
What does that say to you, Deputy?
It says to me that something was afoot, that some evil intent was about to take place, and apparently we interrupted that.
And there was more evidence of a kidnapping plot. This crude map found on one of the Freemen, marking the office and home of a county prosecutor. No sooner had the deputy brought in his prisoners than 5 more armed men showed up at the jail.
At some point, we were able to realize then that they had weapons under their clothing. I stepped through the door with a shotgun like this and pointed my shotgun at them and arrested them, just like that.
But Prosecutor Bowman lacked hard evidence of a kidnap plot. He had to free all 7 men, but then bought a shotgun and borrowed a bulletproof vest.
We had 300 calls or more, but 40 just straight said they were going to kill me.
Meanwhile, Skirdall, Schweitzer, and others continued to hold out at their cabin in a standoff that took on new urgency. While they had warned officials, there were no threats to reporters. So we went to the cabin to see if they would talk with us. I'm Chris Wallace from ABC News.
Oh, get off the ladder, you'll be arrested.
I just wanted to...
Oh, get off the ladder, you'll be arrested.
That's Schweitzer on the left and Skirdall on the right, both carrying handguns in holsters.
Get Off the land.
We will leave.
Get arrested.
We will leave. We are leaving.
Oh, come on, the land again. You'll get arrested.
We just wanted to ask you about your views.
The lab, period.
But in late September, they abandoned the cabin in a late-night run to this ranch in a neighboring county, where at least 12 armed and wanted freemen are now holed up. We sent a producer and camera crew there to get pictures of the place, and this man directed them onto the property.
Who lives there?
Well, you go find out. If you want a story, talk to them.
Our crew followed his directions, but moments later, they were ambushed by a half-dozen men brandishing loaded shotguns. The freemen robbed our people of $66,000 worth of camera gear, then ordered them to get out. We reported the crime to the sheriff and the FBI. But again, authorities won't confront the freemen for fear of provoking a gunfight. You have a bunch of guys here who have felony warrants against them, who are threatening you public officials, and they're getting away with it.
I know. And the message it's making in our country is terrible, and I think the ripple effect is threatening and dangerous, but I don't have an answer.
Trying to find an answer, Bowman wrote President Clinton and spoke at a congressional hearing to tell Washington about the problem. But criticism of the way authorities took on extremists at Waco and at Ruby Ridge has made federal agencies gun-shy. And so in Montana, the standoff continues. A small but heavily armed gang of extremists defying the law, while those sworn to uphold it are left to fear for their safety.
I have people sending me documents saying that they're going to grab me off the street and bring me before a tribunal and try me for treason. And if they would do that and my kids were there, God only knows who could get hurt. That concerns me.
My question is, it's not going to get better until something is done. And I don't understand where the buck stops.
We phoned the Freeman Ranch a number of times to request the return of our stolen equipment, but they refused, saying they're going to keep it because they want to put us on trial.
She made a heartbreaking discovery when it was too late.
Something you thought was there to tie that hood up can kill your child. It killed mine.
But she turned her loss into her daughter's living legacy. And do these two look strangely familiar? They're what people are talking about when Primetime continues.
The flu. You've got what it takes to overpower the pain. Or do you? Now you do. Because now there's a hot flu remedy from Alka-Seltzer Plus. New Alka-Seltzer Plus Hot Flu and Body Aches formula. The hot, soothing liquid speeds powerful medicines to your worst aches and coughs to quickly ease your pain. New Alka-Seltzer Plus Hot Flu and Body Aches formula. What flu?
By bringing the blender to the food, instead of the food to the blender, you spend more time creating dishes and less time doing them. The Braun hand blender and chopper.
I wish this could last all night. All night.
Duracell. Oh, it can. And tomorrow night, and maybe the next night, and the following day. The copper top. No battery is stronger, longer.
Primetime Live, an ABC News magazine, will continue after this from our ABC stations.
At Continental, we've been listening to you. And you can see the changes. Something new here, a renewed sense of pride there. And lately, we've become among the best in the business at handling your baggage and getting you to your destination on time. So fly us again and see the changes for yourself.
They say, surround yourself with Earth's forms and you'll find tranquility. In the presence of power, you'll achieve peace of mind. Remove yourself from chaos and you'll experience rejuvenation. Hence, our newest edition, Wide Open Spaces. Introducing the longer, roomier Jaguar Vanden Pla.
This is a Channel 7 Eyewitness News Brief.
Good evening, I'm Bill Butel. Tonight on Eyewitness News, sirens scream and lights flash. Superstar Michael Jackson rushed to a Manhattan hospital after collapsing on stage. We have late details on his condition, his bedside visitors, and the fate of his cable special. What's the best time to get pregnant? A fascinating new study tonight about your window of fertility, and you'll be surprised by the findings. Plus, details of a royal ripoff, the man arrested for one gem of a robbery, and the fate of Fergie's baubles. And it's almost decision day, the vote that could put more of your money in the mayor's pocket. Story at 11.
Look for tonight's winning lotto numbers live during Eyewitness News at 11. Wear your lucky number for daily drawings in the New York State Lottery. Channel 7, your lottery station.
Primetime continues from TV1 in New York. Diane Sawyer.
You're going to meet one of a rare group of heroes, people who can turn a tragic loss into a reason for living. John Quinones met a mother from Michigan who used her grief to change something that may well have changed something in your life.
I thought I was up to date on all safety issues with my child. I read constantly. I asked questions. I did what I thought I was to do as a responsible parent. I had no idea that there were hidden hazards on playground equipment.
Thelma Sibley wanted only the best for her little girl. After all, she and her husband Bob, devout Baptists, had been trying for 7 years to adopt a child. Finally, Nancy, a bright-eyed wonder, came into their lives.
Literally, she was an answer to prayer. So she was our miracle child.
On a January afternoon in 1994, while her parents were at work, 5-and-a-half-year-old Nancy was playing on the slide at her after-school childcare program, and she was wearing her favorite snowsuit. On that day, Nancy had the hood down and the drawstrings untied.
This was a drawstring.
Right.
It seemed so harmless.
Right. Something you thought was there to tie that hood up can kill your child. It killed mine.
This is a slide similar to it?
Very similar to it, John. The structure...
The slide Nancy was killed on was later destroyed, but it was designed like this one, with several pieces of hard plastic bolted together. Over time, without proper maintenance, these joints can whiten and separate. It was in a gap like this one that the knot on Nancy's drawstring got caught.
She was stuck, just like this. And the jacket pulled up and strangled her.
While Nancy lay helpless on the slide, a child care worker stood nearby, but she had no idea the little girl was in trouble. Nancy was trapped in a part of the spiral that was hidden from view. And precious moments went by before another child was able to alert the adult, who only then came around the slide to discover Nancy's body. By then, it was too late. Nancy had fallen into a deep coma from which she would never awaken, despite the prayers and messages of hope from her classmates, friends, and family.
I knew I was losing her. And they put her in my arms. And I held her close. And she took one big deep breath. Just seconds after they took her off the ventilator. And then the angels took her.
The grieving mother then turned her rage on the jacket that was left behind.
I started yelling at this jacket that I don't understand how something I put her in to keep her warm, to keep her safe from cold getting in her ears and such, the hood up, tied. How could you do this? I don't understand this.
And neither did anyone else. In fact, everyone called it a freak accident. But then the school board released a report on its investigation. While reading about the case one night, Nancy's mother discovered there were others like it. Grief turned to shock when Thelma Sibley realized that her daughter's death could have easily been prevented, and it wasn't such a freak accident after all. In the last 10 years, at least 17 children have been strangled by drawstrings. Another 42 nearly died. Even more startling to Nancy's mother, after similar deaths in Great Britain, that country banned the use of drawstrings in children's clothing altogether, almost 20 years ago.
So I didn't sleep again that night. And I thought, now I have this information. Am I going to sit here and wait till I open the paper again and see that another child has died this way? And so I thought to myself, okay, Lord, what do I do with this?
As Thelma pondered what to do next, lawyers started calling with the lure of a lawsuit.
And 3 of them had approached us and said, such the deal I can give you and what money you can make. And I was appalled.
You could use the money?
Anybody could use the money. But how could you spend the money when you know it was related to your daughter's death? And if Nancy was that much of a gift to me from God and that important to me, I'm going to be that shallow to say that this new sailboat is going to make me feel all better? No. To me, it's blood money. It's blood money.
Instead, Thelma Sibley decided to do something totally different.
I want it to be a legacy for Nancy.
The woman who had never before campaigned for or against anything set out to change the way children's clothing is made.
When things are preventable, when things can be designed safer, we are responsible as parents to let the industry know, to let government know.
So she started writing letters to the makers of children's clothes, congressmen, even Hillary Clinton.
She's a mother. I told her, as a mom to a mom, I need your help here.
And then Thelma began what she calls her own version of the Boston Tea Party. She asked her friends and neighbors to cut the drawstrings off their kids' clothes. She collected thousands of them and mailed them to the White House.
This was my little girl. This was the last thing I could do for her. I had this information. I felt I was accountable.
But she was also starting to feel discouraged. The White House simply forwarded her letters to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, an agency Thelma knew very little about. Her fears of a bureaucratic runaround, however, quickly disappeared when she received a personal call from the chairman of the commission.
No bureaucrat is too busy to call people and say, I'm so sorry. I'm grief-stricken with you. Now let me tell you what we are doing and how we can work together to prevent this terrible tragedy from happening to another child.
Can you see what they have?
Ann Brown, who took over the agency a year and a half ago, is known for her tough, no-nonsense approach.
I gave a deadline. I'd like to have it by the deadline, and I'd like to get moving on it.
Brown arranged to meet Thelma Sibley in Washington, and the two of them hit it off right away.
It's good to see you. I liked her, and I could feel the chemistry between us immediately. And she says, stick with me, kid. We're going to do this together.
They forged a partnership and a friendship. During her visits to Washington, Thelma even stayed at Ann's house.
It would be great for you to get out to the labs tomorrow.
With Thelma's support, Ann Brown's agency appealed to major manufacturers to voluntarily remove drawstrings from children's clothing.
I'm honored to introduce Thelma Sibley now.
It's a move Thelma had been earlier warned would take years to implement, but that was before these women teamed up.
I hope you understand how bittersweet this hour is for me.
We had never been aware of the situation that something like that could happen. Being a mother, meeting her and hearing her story, I cried. I was so moved.
Nancy Meyer is an executive with Nike Sportswear, one of the first companies to respond to the initiative.
Her activism really inspired me and motivated me as a businesswoman to really make a difference in the industry.
I love the colors. Look.
Within just 4 months, Nike and 31 other major clothing companies had voluntarily agreed to redesign their entire line of children's clothing to remove the drawstrings.
Hold it. Nice snaps.
This took 4 months. There's no invasive regulation. There's no red tape. It was simply a cooperative effort. It's the way I love to work.
Today, in many parts of the country, it's getting harder and harder to find any new kids' clothing with drawstrings.
It's a miracle. You take the consumer, you take the government, and you take the industry, and you can work as partners with no litigation, with no passing money, and something good came out of it. However, the communication needs to get out to parents to remove.
And now this Michigan mother is moving on to new battles, appearing in a video.
Maintenance is the first important issue. People need to know that
She wants parents to know how to avoid the biggest hazards on the playground.
I learned 3 key points for parents.
First, there's maintaining good ground cover.
Especially under slides where children are coming down and they keep brushing it away.
Keep it even, 12 inches of good ground cover, such as finely chipped wood chips.
So that if a child falls...
It cushions it, because 60% of all injuries are when children fall.
And then there's the rust, a sign of general deterioration.
Rust on swings and rust on slides and on the tire, where it could break off.
And finally, check for the kind of problem that killed her daughter.
Watch out for catch points, where anything, not just strings, but scarves, hoods,
Can get caught.
Can get caught.
The best solution is equipment designed without those catch points. But in the meantime, Thelma says, parents should demand an easy fix.
There's a silicone kit that the manufacturer of this slide can provide and fill in those gaps. The slide can be made safe.
How expensive is that?
$15 for the kit. That's all. How much is a child's life worth? I think a lot more than $15.
A final footnote. When Nancy died, Thelma contacted her birth mother and invited her to the funeral. She brought along a haunting message. Nancy had been the product of a rape, and the birth mother had considered an abortion.
But because of her deep faith, she felt God was telling her, please don't do this. This little girl, I have a purpose for her. And I said to her, oh, I don't understand. She says, Thelma, I don't either. I'm beginning to understand a little bit because of little Nanny's death. Hopefully, not another child has to die this way.
The slide that Thelma was using in the report to demonstrate playground problems has been fixed, by the way. Now, if your children are wearing last year's coats, the Consumer Product Safety Commission recommends completely removing hood and neck strings from all children's outerwear. And at the least, take the toggles off a waist drawstring. Shorten it, tack it to the garment so that it doesn't get caught in something. And when we come back in a moment, Judd Rose has something to say about something people are talking about.
Of all the things trucks can do, there's one thing that's never been done before. Only Chevy trucks have ever won back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year awards.
Outside of this box of Russell Stover candies, life has changed in the last 70 years. But inside, very little has changed. We're still using our time-honored recipes and only the finest ingredients. That's why we can guarantee freshness and home-fashioned goodness in every piece. Nobody does chocolate like Russell Stover does chocolate.
Being married to a dentist, we're always getting free samples of toothpaste. But what do? I buy Mentadent.
Mentadent has all three ingredients dentists recommend most for the care of teeth and gums.
Fluoride, baking soda, and peroxide. These are the ingredients my husband recommends. On your toothbrush, into your mouth, as you're brushing, you can feel bubbles everywhere. Hundreds of bubbles all over your mouth, giving you a fresh, clean feeling. Mentadent's accepted by the American Dental Association. My husband would never recommend a product that wasn't.
Looking for the perfect gift? Chia Herb Garden includes everything to grow fresh herbs in your own kitchen. And with the natural chia growing sponge, it's clean and easy, no messy soil. Place a moistened chia sponge in each clay pot, sprinkle on herb seeds, water, and watch it grow. Chia. Cooking with fresh herbs is healthy and makes food taste delicious. Look for chia on the box. Chia Herb Garden, the gourmet gift that grows.
Chia Herb Garden's available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames department stores, and Face Drugs. Makes a great gift.
Sunday, Deidre Hall's inspiring true story that touched the hearts of millions.
Infertility is like giving up the dream of ever having some little child's voice call you mommy.
Her personal triumph in overcoming the odds will move you to tears.
I have to have this family.
Deidre Hall and Daniel Hugh Kelly star in Never Say Never, the Deidre Hall story, Sunday on ABC.
It's a special tribute to Frank Sinatra with one-of-a-kind performances from the biggest stars.
With Patti LaBelle, Ray Charles, Hootie and the Blowfish, and more. An unforgettable celebration. Sinatra, 80 Years My Way, December 14th.
What do you see?
Just a bunch of stuff from Staples.
A brother label maker. I could use that. All right, a brother fax. Oh, a brother printer. A water gun.
Busted.
Get Brother products at the guaranteed low price and 6,000 other great gift ideas. Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
At last count, there were about 20 TV talk shows vying for your attention and for guests willing to share the most intimate and outrageous details of their lives with a television audience. Correspondent Judd Rose was intrigued by a couple whose particular affinity for the genre led to the inevitable question, is this thing for real? It's what people are talking about.
Today on Ricky Lake.
Why do you think she's sleeping with all these guys?
I want to lay him down and make love to him.
Fasten your seatbelts because this is definitely one for the books.
You know what they say, talk is cheap. But it rarely gets any cheaper than this.
Don, what's wrong with her toes?
They stand up a little bit.
That's Don Arkin and Janet Adigby on The Richard Bay Show, playing the dating game. But life for Don and Janet has its problems, too. They're an interracial couple facing racism all the time. What to do? Tell Montel.
Don and I, we were walking, and this guy, he must have had a little bit too much to drink. And he touched me, and I turned around and just let him have it just like that, you know?
But hey, racism is the least of their problems. Turns out, Don used to be sort of a Don Juan, as he told Sally Jesse.
Sally, this was a way in my life since I'm 14 years old.
And we haven't even gotten to Jerry or Rolanda or Lisa. By their own count, Don and Janet have been on 18 TV talk shows in just the past few years.
So just who are these two, other than the biggest exhibitionists this side of Howard Stern? Well, they are serial guests, those who are willing to appear on almost any show to talk about almost anything.
If I had an argument with Janet, I wouldn't take it out in the hallway to one of my neighbors to hear. So naturally, I certainly wouldn't go on national TV to show the world.
Naturally. But hey, Don, shouldn't this be private?
You two made love the first time you met.
Yes, we did. True.
What was that like? What happened?
It was beautiful. Multiple orgasms.
Don and Janet say they aren't paid for this. They just want to help others with the same problems.
Nobody has ever asked us to fabricate anything, nor would we. What would be the sense of lying when we're not getting paid?
But LA Times TV critic Howard Rosenberg says truth is less important than consequences.
If you watch these shows continually, the message you get is that you better watch your back, because if you don't, your spouse, your brothers or sisters, your family, your mother, your best friends are going to stab you in the back. Everybody is out to get you. It feeds whatever paranoia you have.
Female stalkers, next Lisa. Makeovers for hookers, next Jerry Springer. Men who chase virgins, next Montel.
If, in fact, it is the case that a lot of these guests who tell their sordid tales are fake.
Oh, my God, I'm missing Carney. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
So don't be surprised if you see Don and Janet on some talk show again. The surprise will be if you recognize yourself.
We'll be right back.
Your approach is looking good, Cobra.
The men and women of the National Guard and Reserve face some tough challenges. So when they need to take time off to serve, don't make their toughest challenge approaching you.
When we first came here, we saw that there were 3 swings, 6 horses, 1 slide, and 1 set of monkey bars for 120 children. We looked around, we realized these kids that come here really need a heck of a lot more.
What do you suppose would happen
if everyone decided to put just a weekend's worth of effort back into their community. Building, renovating, whatever. Things might just begin to change, which is why on one weekend in June, a group of Saturn retailers, owners, and team members got together and built 12 playgrounds in the New York area. And while in the grand scheme of things, that may not seem like much, it's a start.
Some of the world's best tasting water comes from an unexpected source. The Brita water filtration pitcher transforms tap water. The special Brita filter reduces chlorine taste and odor, eliminates 93% of lead, taking tap water back to nature. Brita, tap into great taste. Available at Lectors and Linens and Things. When something's loved, it shows. When something's the perfect shade of pale pink and fits like the first time and just makes you feel beautiful, it shows. When you care for something in Woolite, it shows.
French's original green bean casserole, made only with French's French fried onions. Easy to make, delicious to eat, perfectly in tune with the holidays.
Still going. Long-lasting Energizer batteries keep going, and
it's not polite to point.
Oh, she's a natural.
Playtex, cross your heart. A natural shape under clothes.
Yeah.
The Cross Your Heart bra.
Lingerie for real life.
Last week we brought you an investigation into problems in childcare, and you flooded us with requests for more information. As usual, we're still on the case. Our hidden cameras showed you what it's like with too many children supervised by just one adult in family home care. But your letters ask, how can a parent really know? Well, as we said, the best advice is to make unannounced visits see for yourself. Is the adult in control? Are there stimulating activities, or are the kids on their own?
If you walk in and the kids all run to you, the kids aren't busy, so that's a good clue.
So you ask us, how can parents get information and make a difference?
Don't ever buck a mom, because if there's a mom out there who really wants something done, she's gonna get it done.
In California, activist and mom Sherry Robertson set up Trustline, a service which checks for criminal records among all caregivers. She hopes to expand nationwide. And there's a national service called Child Care Aware, which helps you get reliable information for your community. Their 800 number is listed with the operator. And another update. 2 years ago, we showed you with hidden cameras how some airline employees steal from baggage. Well, the latest victim seems to be the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. $500,000 worth of her jewelry was gone and then found in the doghouse of a baggage handler at Kennedy International Airport in New York.
Next week, a rare interview with Madonna by our ABC News colleague, Forrest Sawyer.
Why do you feel hurt by life?
I think, losing my mother at a very young age was a devastating experience, and I am constantly in these situations where I'm completely frustrated and absolutely no one can come to my rescue, make me feel better. And I always say, God, I wish I had a mother that I could call. And I don't.
Next week on Primetime.
And that's our program for tonight. Don't forget Nightline after your local news. I'm Diane Sawyer in New York. Good night to all of you. And Sam, go home and get some tea and some lemon.
Hey, there are worse things, Diane, believe me. Good night. I'm Sam Donaldson in Washington. We want to welcome 2 news stations to the ABC television network. Memphis 24 WPTY in Tennessee and 25 WEHT in Evansville, Indiana. Glad you could join us. Don't forget 2020 Friday night. Be sure to join us again next Wednesday evening for another edition of Primetime Live.
To order a transcript, call Journal Graphics at 1-800-ALL-NEWS. This has been a presentation of ABC.
Connery and go.